Within the Grand Assembly Hall, alien delegates gathered to discuss expansion plans, their eyes set on New World's rich in resources. Each delegate represented a different faction, all united in their empire's goal of acquiring territories that could enhance their reach and influence. The proposal for Earth was made with confidence. This planet, largely isolated and limited to its solar system, seemed like a prime candidate. The proposing delegate emphasized Earth's wealth of resources and its inhabitants, who, despite their ambition, were still contained within their own atmosphere. Earth's lack of interstellar presence, he argued, would make the invasion swift and uncomplicated. However, as the proposal circulated, a ripple of hesitancy emerged among a few seasoned delegates who had studied Earth more closely. One of these, a particularly skeptical delegate, raised a pointed question. "Are we certain about this?" he asked, scanning the room. "Invading Earth might not be as straightforward as it appears." His tone caught the attention of others, who knew him for his caution in evaluating potential threats. The delegate elaborated, referencing Earth's history. Humans, he noted, were unlike any species the Empire had encountered before. Their development had been marked by an unusual blend of aggression and resilience. Despite countless conflicts, humans had continued to adapt, survive, and even thrive, often emerging stronger after each confrontation. They were a species driven by curiosity and ingenuity, capable of advancing technology at surprising speeds, particularly when pressured by competition or survival threats. Other delegates scoffed, dismissing these concerns as unnecessary caution. "They're confined to one planet," another argued. "Their technological achievements, while notable, are primitive on an interstellar scale. They lack the means to defend themselves against a force of our magnitude." Yet, the skeptical delegate persisted, reminding them that Earth's history was full of examples where humans overcame the odds through sheer willpower and innovation, often at great cost to themselves but always with a fierce commitment to survival. As more delegates began to listen, he continued, detailing how Earth's civilizations had been through numerous wars, each conflict serving as a catalyst for technological and strategic advancements. Unlike other species who feared destruction, humans had repeatedly faced it and adapted. The skeptical delegate pointed out that while humans lacked the advanced weaponry of the Empire, their ability to develop unconventional tactics under pressure could present an unexpected challenge. Humans, he noted, possessed an adaptability that made them a unique threat, one that might not be evident from a surface-level assessment. This perspective introduced a wave of unease. Some began to consider the implications of invading a world populated by a species known for resilience and unpredictable responses. Humanity's history, full of examples where they had achieved remarkable progress in short spans of time, suggested a tenacity that other species in the Empire hadn't exhibited. The skeptical delegate warned that Earth's inhabitants might not respond as other conquered worlds had. Rather than submission, they might exhibit defiance that could evolve into a prolonged conflict. Yet, there were those who remained unconvinced, their focus still on Earth's resource potential and lack of advanced defenses. "They may be resilient," a more aggressive delegate conceded, "but resilience means little when facing a force they cannot match. One decisive strike would eliminate any potential resistance." This comment reignited the debate, with some delegates eager to proceed, while others began to sense that Earth might not be as easy a conquest as it initially seemed. As the discussion progressed, the skeptical delegate pressed further, pointing out the distinct characteristics that set humans apart. Earth's species exhibited a resourcefulness driven by a history of conflict and environmental challenges. He highlighted that humans often achieved the impossible under circumstances that appeared insurmountable. To them, struggle was a way of life, and this had instilled in them an adaptability that few other species possessed. This, he warned, was what made humanity dangerous. They thrived on challenge and grew stronger under pressure, an unpredictable factor that could complicate any invasion plan. Skeptical voices began to add weight to the argument, noting that humans might not submit as easily as the Empire's leaders assumed. Earth's civilizations had displayed a unique capacity for unity when faced with existential threats. Despite internal divisions, humanity had a track record of rallying together when their survival was on the line. The skeptical delegate warned that this capacity for unity could transform an invasion into a prolonged struggle, one that could drain resources and morale. Unlike other species, humans had proven time and again that they were willing to endure extreme hardship for the sake of autonomy. This debate continued, with each side presenting their case, though the skeptical delegate's concerns were beginning to resonate with a growing number of officials. He argued that humans' unpredictable nature posed an unseen risk, one that couldn't be measured by technology alone. Their resilience was rooted not in their tools but in their determination, a trait that had allowed them to repeatedly rebuild and advance despite countless setbacks. The proposal lingered in the air, tempting the Empire's leaders with the prospect of a new world and its resources. Yet, the shadow of uncertainty cast by the skeptical delegate could not be ignored. He urged them to consider the possibility that invading Earth might expose weaknesses within the Empire's strategies, as humans were likely to respond with methods no other species had attempted. Their inventiveness, he cautioned, might allow them to exploit vulnerabilities the Empire wasn't aware it had. Earth, he argued, represented a challenge of a different kind, one that required more than raw power to overcome. By the end of the discussion, the room was divided. Some were still eager to pursue Earth, enticed by the rewards and confident in their superior firepower. Others, swayed by the skeptical delegate's reasoning, began to question whether Earth was worth the risk. The planet, with its seemingly paradoxical blend of fragility and strength, represented an unknown that defied the Empire's typical assessment of conquerable worlds. In their deliberation, the delegates now faced a choice: proceed with the invasion, risking an unpredictable and potentially costly conflict, or heed the warnings and leave Earth undisturbed. After the proposal to invade Earth sparked debate, the delegates sought a deeper understanding of humanity, turning to intelligence reports and gathered data. The initial findings focused on humans' capacity for conflict. Throughout their history, humans had engaged in countless wars, from small skirmishes to world-spanning conflicts. The sheer frequency of these battles, along with the variety of strategies humans employed, indicated a species uniquely accustomed to struggle. Unlike other conquered worlds, Earth's inhabitants saw conflict as a natural part of existence, a reality that had shaped their resilience and adaptability. One report highlighted humanity's tendency to innovate rapidly under pressure. While humans lacked interstellar capabilities, their development within a relatively short period was notable. Driven by competition, necessity, and a desire for progress, humans had progressed from rudimentary technology to advanced machinery at a surprising rate. The intelligence analysts emphasized that, while humans were technologically behind in certain respects, their ability to innovate meant that any invasion could be met with improvised defenses or strategies the Empire had not anticipated. The delegates found this information unsettling. Unlike other species that had submitted easily, humans had shown an uncanny ability to thrive in adverse conditions. In fact, adversity often pushed them to reach new heights, fostering creativity and determination. From overcoming natural disasters to solving complex social challenges, humanity's history was a testament to their adaptability. As the delegates delved into specific examples, it became clear that humans, though seemingly unprepared for interstellar conflict, possessed qualities that might make them more challenging to subdue than anticipated. One particular report delved into human responses to environmental crises. Earth's climate, geological shifts, and other natural phenomena had repeatedly placed humanity in survival situations, forcing them to find solutions under extreme conditions. Their history of overcoming such challenges showed a willingness to face uncertainty head-on, adapting their behavior and technology to meet any threat. To the delegates, it was apparent that humans' adaptability extended beyond warfare. It was ingrained in their way of life, making them a species that couldn't easily be predicted or controlled. The skeptical delegate highlighted this adaptability as a potential threat, arguing that humanity's resilience went beyond simple survival. Humans thrived on change, drawing strength from their ability to overcome obstacles, whether physical, social, or technological. This strength, combined with an unpredictable nature, suggested that humans would be difficult to manage in an invasion scenario. The delegate warned that Earth's inhabitants would likely respond to an invasion by quickly developing countermeasures, drawing on their history of adapting under pressure to outmaneuver their opponents in ways the Empire couldn't foresee. Additionally, intelligence reports emphasized humanity's rapid progression in technology, especially when fueled by a competitive or survivalist mindset. Although humans hadn't reached the level of interstellar travel, their advancements in communications, weaponry, and engineering were impressive given their relative isolation. Analysts noted that even without Empire-level technology, humans had developed creative solutions to complex problems, often using limited resources to achieve significant progress. This inventive spirit was seen as a potential threat, as it suggested that humans would be capable of devising unexpected strategies if pressed into a corner. Further examination revealed humanity's social resilience, their ability to unite during times of crisis, even if temporarily. History showed that, despite internal divisions, humans often rallied together when facing a shared threat. Wars, natural disasters, and global pandemics had demonstrated humanity's capacity for collective action, a trait the skeptical Delegate emphasized as an unknown factor in invasion planning. If Earth's inhabitants perceived the Empire as a threat to their existence, they would likely set aside differences, creating a unified resistance that could prolong any conflict and inflict unexpected losses. Despite these warnings, some delegates remained unconvinced, arguing that humanity's achievements were still primitive compared to the Empire's capabilities. Yet the reports were undeniable. Humans had a tendency to surpass expectations, rising to challenges with an ingenuity and stubbornness that set them apart. The skeptical Delegate pointed out that humanity's creativity under pressure might lead them to exploit the Empire's weaknesses, using unconventional methods to counteract advanced technology. This potential for unpredictability unsettled even those delegates who initially supported the invasion, as they began to consider the risks of engaging with a species that could rapidly adapt and respond to any advantage the Empire might have. To further complicate the matter, humans displayed a psychological resilience that made them difficult to intimidate. Earth's inhabitants were accustomed to challenges that would demoralize other species, and this capacity to endure and even grow through hardship added an additional layer of unpredictability. Humans had faced extinction-level threats throughout their history, and each instance had only strengthened their resolve. The skeptical Delegate argued that this unique mindset would make it nearly impossible to force humanity into submission, as they would likely resist until the end, finding strength in unity and purpose under the threat of invasion. The delegates were left with a picture of a species that, while technologically behind, possessed a resilience and adaptability that couldn't easily be measured. Humanity's history suggested that they wouldn't simply yield to the Empire's might. Instead, they would likely view an invasion as yet another challenge, rising to the occasion with a determination that other species lacked. The skeptical Delegate's insights painted a portrait of a foe that might be more dangerous not because of their weapons, but because of their sheer willpower and ability to innovate under pressure. With these findings, a sense of caution began to spread among the delegates. Humanity was a paradox, a species of contradictions who could be both divided and united, weak yet incredibly strong. They lacked advanced weapons, but they had the creativity to turn everyday items into tools of resistance. Earth's people were resourceful, resilient, and relentless when their survival was at stake. The skeptical delegates' warnings now held greater weight, as even the more confident delegates began to reconsider the true cost of attempting to invade such a world. In the end, the intelligence reports left the delegates with more questions than answers. Earth appeared both vulnerable and formidable, its inhabitants unpredictable in ways the Empire had never encountered. Humanity's resilience, adaptability, and willingness to endure hardship hinted at a species that might not only resist an invasion but do so with a tenacity that could drain the Empire's resources and morale. For a species confined to one planet, humanity held a potential for resistance that couldn't easily be dismissed, leaving the Empire to grapple with a decision that seemed far less certain than it had initially appeared. As the delegates weighed the intelligence on humanity's resilience, the skeptical Delegate argued that it was not only humanity's resourcefulness but also their psychological strength that set them apart. Humans exhibited a rare capacity for determination and collective resolve, qualities that often appeared most prominently during times of crisis. The skeptical delegate pointed out that humanity's response to adversity had been defined by an intense psychological fortitude that many species lacked, a quality that had allowed them to push through challenges with unrelenting commitment. To illustrate this, the skeptical delegate referenced examples of how humans had faced overwhelming odds without breaking. From natural disasters that required rapid mobilization to international conflicts that tested their unity, humanity had continuously demonstrated an ability to adapt quickly and endure hardship. Where other species might have faltered or chosen submission, humans had always found ways to overcome, often in unexpected ways. This resilience suggested that humanity's response to an invasion would be driven not by fear, but by an intense determination to survive and fight back, regardless of the odds. The delegates were reminded of humanity's historical patterns. Although Earth was frequently divided into various factions and nations, humans showed an unusual ability to rally under a shared threat. This unity in crisis made them unpredictable and complicated any assumptions the Empire could make. The skeptical delegate argued that, unlike other species that were easily divided, humans could set aside internal conflicts to face a common enemy, amplifying their strength exponentially. This collective resolve, he cautioned, could make them far more dangerous than they appeared. Further examples emphasized humanity's capacity for resilience at a societal level. Reports indicated that even when facing extreme hardship, such as poverty, natural disasters, or warfare, humans displayed an unwavering focus on survival and adaptation. The skeptical delegate pointed out that humanity often used challenges as fuel for progress, turning obstacles into catalysts for advancement. To him, this resilience was an alarming trait, one that suggested that even the Empire's superior technology might not be enough to break their spirit. Instead, humanity would likely respond with strategies that maximized their resourcefulness, undermining the Empire's technological advantage. These discussions led to a deeper examination of humanity's psychological makeup. Reports described humans as having an unusually high tolerance for loss, with an ability to endure significant setbacks without giving up. This adaptability had shaped them into a species that could persist even when facing what seemed like inevitable defeat. In wars and conflicts, humans had repeatedly demonstrated their capacity to regroup and find new ways to achieve their goals, even if it meant taking a longer or more difficult path. This trait, combined with their innovative thinking, made them a species that was difficult to subdue by conventional means. The skeptical delegate emphasized that, for humans, survival often meant more than mere existence. It involved protecting ideals, relationships, and their sense of autonomy. These values, he argued, were deeply ingrained in their collective psychology, making them a species that would resist domination at all costs. Unlike other civilizations that had surrendered quickly, humanity's will to preserve these values meant that they would be willing to endure great suffering rather than accept subjugation. This sense of purpose, deeply embedded in their culture, would be a driving force if Earth were ever invaded. As the discussion continued, the skeptical delegate raised the point that humans didn't merely adapt, they thrived on challenge. History showed that when humans faced seemingly insurmountable obstacles, they often used them as stepping stones for growth. This tendency had led them to develop unique problem-solving abilities and an innovative approach to survival that other species lacked. Earth's inhabitants didn't simply endure hardship, they actively learned from it, using each experience to prepare themselves for future challenges. This proactive resilience, he argued, would make an invasion far more costly and complex than the Empire could anticipate. Some delegates argued that this focus on humanity's psychological traits was an overstatement, yet the evidence suggested otherwise. Humanity's history of overcoming disasters, rebuilding after conflicts, and advancing in the face of adversity provided a strong case for their potential resilience. The skeptical delegate pointed out that humanity's unconventional approach to problem-solving and their determination under pressure would lead them to respond to an invasion with tactics the Empire might not expect. Rather than surrender, humans would likely analyze and exploit the Empire's weaknesses, adapting their responses to counter even the most advanced strategies. The skeptical delegate underscored that humanity's unpredictability was a threat on its own. Their psychological resilience, combined with a readiness to sacrifice for the sake of survival, made them a difficult opponent. Earth's people did not view challenges in the same way as other species, they saw them as opportunities to push boundaries and test their limits. This approach had led them to develop an extraordinary mental resilience, one that might allow them to withstand even the most intense pressures the Empire could apply. He emphasized that any invasion attempt would likely fuel their resistance, transforming them into a force that thrived on opposition. By now, a growing number of delegates began to reconsider their initial assumptions about humanity. They realized that their calculations had focused too heavily on technology and overlooked the psychological resilience that defined Earth's inhabitants. The skeptical delegate argued that if the Empire hoped to control humanity, they would need to account for the fact that humans would resist with every resource at their disposal, drawing on a deeply ingrained will to survive. Earth's people, he warned, would not only resist but would find ways to adapt and possibly even counter the Empire's strategies, regardless of the cost. The delegates now faced a sobering realization: humanity's psychological resilience made them unpredictable, adaptable, and potentially unbreakable. Unlike other species who might crumble under the weight of the Empire's power, humans would likely endure, even at great personal loss, for the sake of preserving their autonomy. This drive to survive and protect their identity was unlike anything the Empire had encountered, posing a significant threat to any plans of invasion. In the end, the skeptical delegate's argument left the room with a quiet tension. Humanity's strength went beyond technology or numbers, it lay in their minds, in their capacity to endure and adapt. The delegates were left to question whether an invasion could ever truly succeed against a species so deeply rooted in resilience. As the discussion on humanity's resilience continued, the skeptical delegate saw a need to underscore the magnitude of the potential risks further. He had observed that while many delegates acknowledged the human's unique qualities, they underestimated the impact of Earth's unpredictable, defiant spirit. To address this, he took a firm stance, emphasizing that humanity's unbreakable resolve and creativity in crisis could lead to a disastrous outcome for the Empire if they chose invasion. He warned that humanity's unpredictable nature would make them nearly impossible to control, as they would never respond predictably to threats or domination. The skeptical delegate pointed to historical examples of powerful empires on Earth that had attempted to subdue smaller groups, only to face fierce resistance that wore them down over time. These once mighty empires often found themselves stretched thin, trying to control a population unwilling to yield. Humanity's history demonstrated that they had a remarkable ability to use guerrilla tactics, patience, and resourcefulness to exhaust far more powerful adversaries. If the Empire underestimated humanity's psychological and strategic depth, he argued, they could find themselves drawn into an endlessly costly conflict. To further illustrate his point, the delegate described how Earth's civilizations had often grown stronger under pressure, using adversity as a catalyst for technological and cultural progress. Even in situations that seemed hopeless, humans had a history of adapting their methods and turning disadvantages into strengths. The skeptical delegate emphasized that any invasion attempt might serve only to ignite a relentless resistance movement, one that could unify Earth's diverse populations into a single, formidable force. Humanity's response to a shared threat would likely be unlike anything the Empire had encountered, as they had a long history of fighting for freedom and autonomy. The skeptical delegate went on to address a factor the Empire had rarely considered: humanity's deep-seated value system, which often drove them to extremes in the face of oppression. Unlike many species, humans did not see survival as the only objective. They valued principles such as liberty, autonomy, and unity with a fervor that had historically led them to take actions that defied logic. Earth's inhabitants were known to prioritize their values over their immediate safety, which meant they could be willing to endure extreme sacrifices rather than submit to foreign control. This value system, he argued, was an intangible but formidable force that could drive them to continue fighting long after any rational opponent would have surrendered. This warning brought a sense of tension to the room. The skeptical delegate argued that humanity's cultural resilience would make it nearly impossible to subdue them without risking a prolonged, destabilizing conflict that would drain the Empire's resources. He cautioned that attempting to control a species so committed to freedom would be akin to lighting a fuse that could spark endless rebellions, not just on Earth but potentially across other oppressed worlds inspired by humanity's defiance. If the Empire invaded, he warned, they might not only fail but inadvertently incite a galaxy-wide call for resistance against Imperial control. To drive his point home, the skeptical delegate cited humanity's history of fighting not only for themselves but for the liberation of others. Despite their many internal divisions, humans had often risen to defend those in need, even when they stood little to gain. Earth's people, he argued, might see an invasion not only as an attack on their sovereignty but as a moral duty to resist oppression in all forms. This sense of collective purpose could turn humanity into a beacon of rebellion, inspiring other oppressed species within the Empire to resist as well. The skeptical delegate warned that humanity's ideals, if threatened, could serve as a rallying cry for those seeking freedom from the Empire's control. The skeptical delegate went on to highlight humanity's resourcefulness as another significant threat. Earth's people had shown time and again that they could turn seemingly insignificant resources into tools for resistance. Their innovative approach to warfare meant they could use whatever was available, often creating low-cost but effective countermeasures against far superior forces. The delegate pointed out that even without advanced technology, humans had a remarkable ability to leverage their environment, adapting quickly to find ways to undermine their enemies. The Empire, he argued, might find itself struggling against an endless stream of improvisational tactics that could nullify its technological advantages. Finally, the skeptical delegate issued a blunt warning: humanity's adaptability and spirit could turn the entire invasion into an unwinnable conflict. Earth's people did not fear loss in the way other species did. Throughout their history, they had often continued fighting despite severe casualties and setbacks, driven by a resolve that bordered on the irrational. For them, the stakes went beyond mere survival; they were about protecting what they valued most deeply. This mindset, he argued, could make Earth impossible to conquer without an unimaginable cost, as the humans would likely endure hardship indefinitely to secure their freedom. By the time the skeptical delegate concluded, the room was silent. His words had resonated, painting a picture of humanity not as a simple target but as a formidable force of will and ingenuity. Earth's people, he argued, were the kind of opponents who could draw strength from adversity, turning any invasion attempt into a marathon of attrition that would ultimately weaken the Empire. Humanity's potential to fight indefinitely, fueled by principles that transcended survival, marked them as an entirely different kind of threat, one that could not be measured by conventional means. The skeptical delegate's cautionary speech created a moment of introspection among the other delegates. They understood that humanity's resilience, coupled with their commitment to autonomy, meant that an invasion would be far more complex and costly than they had initially anticipated. The delegates began to consider whether it was wise to proceed, knowing that humanity's defiance could undermine the Empire's authority on a scale they hadn't prepared for. This insight, brought to light by the skeptical delegate, left them with an unsettling realization: invading Earth might not only be risky but could also destabilize the Empire's control over other worlds. In the end, the skeptical delegate's warnings had cast a long shadow over the Council's initial enthusiasm. The delegates were now faced with the choice to abandon their plans or risk igniting a conflict that could spiral beyond their control. Humanity, they now understood, was not merely a species of limited technology; it was a force driven by an unyielding spirit that would likely make them a formidable adversary. The delegates sat in heavy silence, the skeptical delegates' arguments still echoing in their minds. They had been confronted with a view of humanity that challenged their every assumption about what it meant to invade and conquer. A vote was called, each delegate forced to decide whether they would proceed with the invasion or abandon the plan altogether. The vote, after all the discussion, reflected the deep divide within the Council. Some remained determined to move forward, captivated by Earth's resources and strategic position, while others, influenced by the warnings, saw the risk as too high. In the end, the decision came down to a narrow majority: the Council opted to forego the invasion. Reluctantly, the proponents of conquest accepted the outcome, acknowledging that the cost of invading Earth could easily outweigh the potential benefits. The delegates dispersed, some with relief, others with frustration, but all with a newfound respect for Earth and its inhabitants. The skeptical delegates' caution had transformed their view of humanity, presenting a species whose strength lay not in advanced weaponry or overwhelming numbers but in an unbreakable resilience that defied conventional power. For many, this marked the first time they had encountered a civilization so fiercely protective of its freedom. The skeptical delegate lingered as the others left, reflecting on the significance of what had just transpired. Earth, though isolated and less technologically advanced, had managed to instill caution in the heart of an empire that rarely hesitated. The decision to avoid conflict with humanity was a recognition of the humans' intangible strength, a collective will that had proven more daunting than any fleet of warships or arsenal of weapons. Humanity had challenged the empire without even knowing it, its potential for resistance turning conquest into an unacceptable risk. News of the Council's decisions soon spread through the empire, leaving a ripple of curiosity among those who heard it. Humans, once considered an insignificant, undeveloped species, had now earned a place of respect, and even slight fear, in the minds of the Empire's leadership. The Empire's officers and citizens alike began to view Earth with a sense of intrigue, questioning what kind of civilization could inspire such a significant decision. It was not often that the Empire chose restraint, especially in the face of an apparently weaker opponent. But humanity's tenacity had redefined what the Empire understood as strength, forcing them to see Earth's people not as prey but as potential equals in willpower. For the skeptical delegate, the outcome was a validation of his caution. Humanity, in their defiance, had shown that true strength was more than superior firepower, it was the ability to stand firm in the face of impossible odds. This resilience had earned Earth a reputation that few other worlds could claim. Earth was no longer a tempting prize to be taken, it had become a symbol of resistance, its people regarded as tenacious, indomitable, and perhaps even formidable. The decision to spare Earth reflected not only respect but also a recognition that conquest could backfire, weakening the Empire's control over its vast territories. In time, Earth's story spread even further. Other worlds under the Empire's rule began to hear rumors of humanity's defiance, the tale of a species that had warded off the Empire through sheer determination and strength of spirit. The skeptical delegates' warnings became part of an unspoken narrative that resonated with oppressed planets and factions longing for autonomy. Earth's resilience had become a quiet symbol of hope, a sign that, even against an overwhelming force, resistance was possible. This ripple effect led some within the Empire to reconsider their own place, inspired by the humans' refusal to submit. Though Earth remained unaware of the Council's deliberations, the Empire's decision had lasting consequences. Humanity's reputation as a force of unyielding resilience meant they were left undisturbed, free to continue developing and thriving on their own terms. The Empire's respect for Earth's people became a silent acknowledgement that not all power stemmed from advanced technology or extensive control. The Council's choice represented a shift in thinking, a realization that strength came in many forms, and that even the most seemingly vulnerable species could hold a power that transcended conventional measures. For the skeptical delegate, this was more than just a diplomatic victory, it was a moment that redefined the Empire's understanding of conquest and dominance. Humanity's ability to deter an invasion through their potential for resistance illustrated that the will to protect one's identity was a formidable weapon. The decision to avoid Earth served as a reminder that strength was not only about what could be seen or measured but also about what a species was willing to endure. Earth's people, he realized, had managed to show the Empire that true power was the capacity to inspire caution, even among those who wielded overwhelming might. In the aftermath, Earth continued to live in isolation, unaware of the Empire's brief interest and the deliberations that had spared them. But the story of humanity's resilience persisted within the Empire, a quiet lesson passed along the Council's halls. Some among the younger delegates began to speak of Earth as a case study in strength and adaptability, a reminder that resilience could sometimes be the most potent form of resistance. Humanity had, without any effort on their part, carved out a place in the galaxy as a species that valued autonomy so deeply that even the greatest empire was unwilling to challenge it. As the Empire moved forward, the Council's decision regarding Earth remained a touchstone, a reminder of the unseen power in determination and unity. Earth had earned its safety not through weapons or alliances but through the enduring spirit of its people, a quality that made even the vast empire hesitate. The delegates, especially those who had initially pushed for conquest, now viewed Earth with a respect they reserved only for those they considered equals. Humanity had changed the Empire's perspective, leaving a mark that would influence future decisions about conquest and control. Ultimately, the Empire's choice to avoid Earth left the Council with a newfound caution toward other worlds. They began to approach potential conquests with greater attention to the values and resilience of those they sought to subjugate. Earth had shown that strength could take many forms, and that sometimes, it was not the size of the army or the advancement of technology that determined a species' power, but the resolve of its people. Humanity had, by their nature, redefined what it meant to be formidable. In the end, Earth's legacy in the Empire was one of quiet respect and lasting impact. The skeptical delegates' warnings had proven true, shaping the Council's future approach and instilling an appreciation for the power of resilience. Humanity had taught the Empire that the most formidable opponent was not always the one with the largest fleet, but the one with the unwavering courage to defend their freedom at any cost.